All right, today on Twitter, Jacob Brunton said this. This is your reminder that there is no sense in which the Democratic Party is pro-life. From the womb to the tomb, they are the party of murder, strife, lies, theft, degeneracy, and death. Stop your damn lying. I think he meant damn in a technical sense, so I don't think he was using a curse word there. He meant damned, as in going to hell, as in curse, that kind of thing. And this is a fantastic tweet. I completely agree. The Democratic Party exists exclusively for doing evil. Yeah, so I was going to go into the whole platform today, but I just don't have the time for it. If you ever looked at the Democratic Party platform, this bad boy is 92 pages long. Who's got time for something like this? But yeah, I definitely will go into key parts of it, but I just wanted to just spend a little time talking about it. So what I did was I looked for a summary of the Democratic Party platform, and I wanted to get one from their perspective so that you can't accuse me of only looking at Fox News or conservative pundits and conspiracy theorists. This is New York Times. This is just practically another branch of the Democratic Party. And so this is an article that they put out called What the Democratic Party Platform Actually Says. They say it's a largely symbolic document that broadly outlines the party's agenda, and it doesn't make everyone happy. What a surprise. Because when you look at the scale of Democrats, you've got the absolutely insane ones, and then you've got the ones that are just moderately insane. So let's go through a few of the key points here and talk about why this entire platform is upside down. No Christian can support, or at least should support, any part of it at all. Now, the article, unfortunately, starts with coronavirus. I guess that's one of the big party platform things. And I don't have time for this. I mean, the coronavirus obviously is not that big of a deal unless you manufacture it becoming a big deal. Like if you start shutting down the economy and stuff like that because of the coronavirus, then you make it a big deal. But actually, in and of itself, it's really not. So we're just going to skip that. Who cares? Healthcare. This is the first section I wanted to talk about. This is what the article says about the Democratic Party's position on healthcare. This is one of those things where people are like, oh, they're about comprehensive human flourishing. They're pro-life in healthcare, better than the Republicans. Well, let's see what they have to say and find out. The New York Times article says this: the section on healthcare is something of a catch-all that broadly outlines the Democrats' desire to bring down the cost of prescription drugs, reduce healthcare costs, and improve the quality of care. While it nods to Medicare for all, it stops far short of backing it. But perhaps the most interesting part of the party's stance on healthcare is how exactly it plans to expand coverage. Borrowing language from Mr. Sanders, the platform asserts that healthcare is a right for all, but it seeks to secure universal healthcare through a public option, not Medicare for all. Democrats believe we need to protect, strengthen, and build upon our bedrock healthcare programs, including the Affordable Care Act, the platform reads. Private insurers need real competition to ensure they have incentive to provide affordable, quality health care coverage for every American. That sounds pretty good. I mean, that's like part and parcel of comprehensive human flourishing. At least you would think so. But obviously, healthcare is not a right. That's crazy to think so. You could search the Bible as much as you want. I've read the entire thing a number of times. You can search the Bible all you want, and you will never find any passage that even hints that healthcare might be a right for all. Healthcare certainly is a blessing, and good health and avoidance of pestilence and stuff like that is, of course, a blessing from God. But to say that it's a right is fundamental misunderstanding of what rights are. Healthcare is a service. And so if you're going to say that everyone has a right to a certain service, that's a real problem, because services aren't just a thing that exists out there in space. Services are a thing that's provided by a person, by a human being. And so nobody has the right to your labor. That's really weird to think that somebody would have a right to your labor. I mean, that certainly seems to be kind of what those crazy people back in the day when they were stealing Africans from Africa and then importing them to the United States, they felt like they had the right to their labor. What's that thing called again? Slavery. Yeah, that's right. You know, nobody has a right to your labor. That's crazy. Why would we think that? I mean, just ask why. Why is healthcare a right? How do you know that? No, healthcare is not a right. And so saying that healthcare is a right is not part of comprehensive human flourishing unless you think that demanding that someone work for you because you have a right to their work is somehow part of comprehensive human flourishing, but I'm pretty sure that Christians don't want to go there. Furthermore, all this kind of stuff, I mean, you can't just conjure up healthcare. Like, it actually costs money. Like, you actually have to invest in equipment and tools and medicines and things like that. And so all of this is going to be built on a foundation of stealing, just like Jacob said. So this part of the platform, which I guess would be part of their comprehensive human flourishing plan, is built on stealing, deception, lies, because healthcare is not a right, as we've just said. So it looks like Jacob Brunton was dead on there, not to mention the fact that Democrats also think that killing babies is part of healthcare, that's not pro-life. Anyway, let's move on. The economy. Here are some people wearing some masks, shopping at Macy's or something. Here's what this article says about the Democratic position on healthcare or the economy. Let me just drink some of this apple cider. Very good for your digestion. Anyway, the section of the platform that is devoted to the economy blends and borrows ideas from across the Democratic Party's ideological spectrum. There are echoes from Mr. Sanders, a socialist, so there's echoes of socialism, where he says the U.S. economy is rigged against the American people. The wonky subsections that address curbing Wall Street abuses, tackling runaway corporate concentration, issues highlighted repeatedly by Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. Overall, there are few surprises here. Democrats, for instance, support raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2026, a policy already backed across the party. They want to invest in infrastructure, including high-speed rail. Democrats also aggressively support steps to encourage home ownership by increasing affordable housing, by giving a $15,000 tax credit to first-time home buyers, among many other initiatives. Most notably, the platform promises to reject every effort to cut, privatize, or weaken Social Security. The pledge is particularly relevant following President Donald Trump's push to cut payroll taxes, which Democrats say could jeopardize the funding stream for the popular government program. So they want to keep funding the Ponzi scheme. They want to raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. Are these part of comprehensive human flourishing? No, they are not. No, they are not. Ponzi schemes are fraud, so clearly that's not part of comprehensive human flourishing. And minimum wage, that's a really weird way to say I'm banning lower-skilled workers from working. I don't know about you, but the Bible doesn't really seem to indicate that that's part of comprehensive human flourishing. I know that there are weasels out there that like to say about, when you say you're going to pay someone a certain amount and then you don't pay them a certain amount, like the Bible talks about that. That's called fraud. That's called stealing. When you say, hey, I'm going to pay you $10 an hour for this work, and then when the time comes to pay him, you only give him $5 an hour. That's really not quite the same thing as minimum wage, although weasels like to pretend like it is. Listen, there's only two people that know what a fair wage is, and that's the person that's paying the wage and the person that's getting paid the wage. We don't need to bring government into that transaction. Like with many things, bringing the government into that transaction only causes chaos. There's no reason to ban people their labor isn't worth $15 an hour. There's no reason to ban them from working. There's no way they can get ahead. That seems to be very against human flourishing to ban lower skilled workers from working, because how are they ever going to increase their situation? How are they ever going to save little by little? It just doesn't really seem to be part of that. But furthermore, even just a non-starter from the beginning, why is the government involved in any of this stuff? Investing in businesses and infrastructure and stuff like that. The Bible doesn't seem to indicate that the government is for managing the economy. Sure, if someone's doing fraud or stealing or something like that, okay, yeah, absolutely. The government should be involved in adjudicating, restitution for people who steal from other people or companies who steal from other people. But that's very different than getting involved in investments and retirement savings and negotiate, like price setting. That's what minimum wage laws are. That's just price setting. Really weird thing to consider as part of comprehensive human flourishing. Again, that's also based on lies and what were the other things that Jacob said? Murder, strife, lie. Yeah, strife, lies, thief, degeneracy, death. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. When you ban poor people from working because their skills aren't worth $15 an hour, and then they get replaced by a computer or a machine or something like that. Like a lot of people are working with robots to flip burgers and stuff. And I don't know about you, but the last time I went into McDonald's, I could order from a screen and stuff like that. Well, why does that stuff happen? Because it's cheaper to have a computer to take your order than a person who needs to make $15 an hour. I'd rather talk to a person, frankly, but hey, listen, I can't help a business from being enterprising. There's a section on climate change here. Yeah, this is another weird one. This might be part of comprehensive human flourishing. Let's hear them out. Climate change. Is that real, by the way? I don't know. The party's platform sets aggressive goals of eliminating carbon pollution from power plants by 2035 and achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions for all new buildings by 2030, with the goal of achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. But the platform makes no mention of the Green New Deal, a sweeping congressional resolution to combat climate change that is widely supported by the party's progressive wing. It also does not call for an end to fossil fuel subsidies, an omission that frustrated activists, although Mr. Biden's plan does. So Joe Biden wants to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies, and I don't really know what to really make of this. But again, the government really shouldn't be involved in this kind of stuff. The greenhouse gas emissions, this all sounds like fake news anyway. So I don't really see how this would be part of comprehensive human flourishing. I mean, at the end of the day, like if we stop using fossil fuels, that's going to be really hard on a lot of poor people. It's just that simple. I mean, all this new energy stuff really doesn't seem to work. Plus, also, people are against nuclear energy, which would be a nice option for people to be able to use. But most governments don't want nuclear power plants in their jurisdictions for some reason, even though it's very effective, it's very useful, and you get a lot of energy from it. I don't know. These people are crazy, so who knows? Let's check out the other highlight section, criminal justice and racial justice. Is that part of comprehensive human flourishing? I don't know. Let's see. We got decriminalizing marijuana. I'm okay with that. Legalizing medical use. That's actually pretty good. So, hey, there you go. I found something that is actually good in the Democratic Party platform. So I guess if you think that decriminalizing marijuana outweighs, killing babies, then I guess you've got your argument. There it is. You want to decriminalize marijuana? So do I. But for some reason, I just don't see how that counterbalances killing babies. I don't know. Call me crazy. Education, foreign policy. Yeah, honestly, this kind of stuff, again, there's really no reason for governments to have jurisdiction over education at all. That's not part of comprehensive human flourishing. Government schools are going to teach you government pagan stuff. Like they're not talking about teaching you about Christ's universe. They're talking about teaching you secular stuff. And I'm pretty sure that getting a secular education, for a Christian anyway, if you're a Christian, doesn't really do much for comprehensive human flourishing because they teach perversion. GLSEN is all up in there teaching little boys how to have sex with other little boys and girls how to have sex with other little girls in your public school. So that's not really part of comprehensive human flourishing. They also teach you that, God didn't create the universe. In fact, the universe was created by accident by itself from base minerals and materials, and somehow they became alive and they became us that today. That's really doesn't seem to be consistent or in line with comprehensive human flourishing. They teach you that you might be a girl if you're a boy, or you might be a boy if you're a girl. That likewise doesn't really seem to be a very healthy lifestyle. That doesn't really seem to add any value to the call of pro-life or comprehensive human flourishing. In fact, it just increases degeneracy. Yeah, so he was right about that. There's lies, there's degeneracy. It also teaches you that abortion is a fundamental human right that must be protected by the Constitution of the United States. That doesn't really seem to be part of comprehensive human flourishing, so that's pretty weird. And so we've talked about a lot of things put forward by this article that are in the Democratic Party platform, and we've identified one thing that they want to do that is good. Legalizing marijuana for personal use as well as medical use. That's a good thing. But I'm pretty sure that one good thing doesn't counterbalance the rest of the evil that they were trying to accomplish by banning people from working that don't have skills that are worth $15 an hour, by controlling health care and stealing from people in order to distribute health care because it's a right, but it's really not a right, because that's kind of really implies that you think that health care providers are slaves, that you're just owed it, I guess. Climate change stuff that really is going to hurt poor people around the world. I mean, that's just really evil. And the economy stuff that they do, it's going to actually hurt the economy as well, so that's going to cause a lot of comprehensive human suffering. So I don't know, man. It doesn't really seem like there's any real redeeming quality save marijuana legalization, which I approve of. But I don't think that that's going to be a good excuse on the judgment day when you're saying, why did you put these butchers in office? And you're going to be like, well, they legalized marijuana. I don't know if that's really going to work. We should actually excommunicate Democrats because the entire party exists for the promulgation of evil. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.